One thing about me is I'm always going to book a trip. I'm going to find a way to travel. I'm going to find a way to get there. It doesn't matter what my circumstances are, what I have to do. I'm going to make sure that I'm on that flight. So I'm 23 years old and I've been to 8 different countries, a lot of different cities. I've been to New York, Miami, Vegas. I love to travel. I love to visit new places. And people always ask me, how do I do it? How do I have the money for it? And I'm not rich. I work a regular job. A lot of these trips I took when I was in college. Some of the trips I took, I was unemployed. I didn't even have a job and I still was able to go. So it's not hard. You can do it too. The first thing you have to do though is to set money aside to vacation, to travel. Everyone has their thing that they spend their money on. Some people, they like to buy clothes. Some people like to spend more money on food. My thing will always be traveling. It will always be trips. So the first thing you have to do is set some money aside. At least, I would say you can do a trip with $500. Yeah, you can definitely do a trip with $500. And it's not like you have to have all of that at once, because you can start planning a trip and you can book things. Like, you get paid one week, book the flight. The next 2 weeks, book the hotel. Then when you get there, you'll get paid and then you'll spend the rest of your money on, things you want to do. So you don't have to like have a whole bunch of money in your savings, but you might have to sacrifice one paycheck. Maybe you won't go shopping, or maybe you won't go to brunch that week. You'll put some money aside to travel. So that's the number one thing. Also, you're going to need to book your flight, which is the easiest part in my opinion. My favorite airline, which it may change, but Southwest is really good with cheap flights. I'm gonna put something up here, but there you can get a flight to New York for April for about $130 round trip, and that includes 2 free bags. And the reason why Southwest might not be my go-to anymore is they are changing their bagging policy. I don't know how much they're going to start charging for bags, which sucks, because for most of these trips I'm talking about, most of the trips that I've went on, I've used Southwest. They're cheap, you have your bags, and it's a decent airline. Like, you get to your destination, there's no extra stuff, but they are changing that policy. But if you want to travel before, I believe, May 28th, definitely check out Southwest. Be flexible with your dates. That's very, very important. Be flexible, because you can you can look at a month. So you want to travel in April, the tickets in the beginning of the month might be a lot cheaper than the end, or vice versa. Same thing with hotels. Be flexible. I would check the flight and the hotel, see which week is the cheapest to travel, and then go with that. As long as you're flexible, you can find really good deals. Another airline is Spirit, and a lot of people talk about Spirit, but I've never had any issues with Spirit. Like, sometimes they're a little rude at the airport, but that's fine. Like, you're going on a trip, it doesn't matter. The only thing with Spirit, they'll have cheap flights, but sometimes, not sometimes, you always have to pay for your bag. It's about $35. Do it before you get to the airport, because then it's way cheaper. But I would definitely recommend Spirit. You'll get to where you need to go. And sometimes Spirit is cheaper than Southwest. Once again, that might be changing because of their new policy, but as of right now, Southwest is my number one. Then I go to Spirit. Frontier, I've heard some bad stories about Frontier, but I've flown them before and they were fine. So take that take that with your own whatever. If you're gonna risk it, you're gonna risk it. But I haven't had a problem with any of those airlines. I've always been good with them. Another thing you can do is, instead of looking at round trip flights, you can look at one-way flights. So sometimes, for example, a Southwest flight might be cheaper going, but coming back it's more expensive. And then, so instead of just doing Southwest round trip, you can do Southwest, and then you can come back on Spirit or Frontier. Just make sure you're calculating those baggage policies in there. Spirit is really strict with that, but yeah, that's the flight. And you can probably get a flight to anywhere you want, as long as you're flexible, for $200, under $200. Next thing is accommodation, hotels. Personally, I prefer to stay in hotels rather than Airbnbs. but sometimes Airbnbs are cheaper. I would also recommend to have a travel buddy, one or two. I would not recommend traveling in a big group. Yes, it can be okay, but especially if you're new to traveling, I would not recommend it. But when it comes to hotels, if you can find a hotel for about $150 a night, if you have a travel buddy, if you have a person you can split that with, that cuts the cost in half. Obviously, if you don't have anyone, I always say, if you don't have anyone to do it with, just do it yourself, do it alone. But depending on your budget, it's definitely better to travel with a pair, travel in pairs, or travel with two other people. I would say at the most four people. And when you have your travel buddy, make sure that they want to do the same things as you. This is so, so important. Make sure they have the same budget as you, and make sure they have the same way of traveling as you. There are some people that like to get up at 7 a.m. They like to have a schedule going. They like to go to a place every hour. They want to have a plan. And there are some people that like to sleep in, and vacation and traveling is about relaxing for them. So figure out what category you fall in and pick somebody who also falls in the same category. That's a big way how you can avoid arguments about what to do or when to get up, and you can really enjoy your trip. And the budget thing is also extremely important. You want to have a similar budget. That's another reason why conflict arises when you're traveling, and that's another reason why I say I don't recommend traveling in a huge group, because you're going to have people with a variety of different opinions, a variety of different budgets, and yeah, it's just not fun. You want to have fun in your trip. But yeah, for accommodation, I would definitely recommend hotels, but you can also do Airbnb. Just make sure you're looking at their policies, make sure you're looking at the extra fees, because sometimes Airbnb, the price will appear to be cheap, but once you add in all those extra fees, all those cleaning policies, it may be more expensive. But I've stayed in Airbnbs before. It's been fine. I stayed in one in Miami, and the location was great, which is the next major point, is the location. You want to be close to the things that you want to do. Uber can rack up, and if you're on a budget, it's better to be sometimes even walking distance. If you're in a city, you can be walking distance. I keep bringing up New York because that's just my main thing right now. That's where my mind keeps going to. Trip to New York, it sounds pretty fun right now. The weather is starting to get nicer, but for New York, you can take the subway. There's no harm in taking the subway. People use it all the time. It's quick, it's cheap, it's easy. Take the subway. But yeah, for Miami, when I went to Miami, we stayed in a neighborhood. I don't remember the exact neighborhood, but I will insert it somewhere once I can look that up. But it was by so many different food spots. It was by different clubs that I had a really great time at. They weren't the typical Miami clubs where you had to wear heels and people bouncers at the door, but I had a really really great time there. It was awesome. So definitely do your research on what you want to do when you get there, and try to stay somewhat close. Even if it's like you have to drive, just try to stay at least like 10 to 15 minutes away from a lot of the stuff. As far as what to do when you get there to save money, I would definitely recommend, there are some things you can do for free, or for very low price. Museums a lot of times are pretty cheap or free depending on the day that you go. Miami, you can go to on the beach. Food spots, I would definitely recommend not going to the most popular viral food spot. There are a lot of hole in the wall places. There are a lot of local places that you can try that the food honestly will probably be way better than if you go to a viral spot. I would definitely do breakfast and lunch, unless you want to do like a brunch one day. Breakfast and lunch in a location that's on the lower side, that's more local, and then if you want to do a nice dinner, you can do that too. But definitely make sure that if you are going to different events, or just make sure you're looking up the price. Make sure you know exactly what you're going to spend. Obviously, you might spend more on souvenirs or just shopping, but have your budget ready and plan in advance. The best thing you can do is plan, and you will be good. Now, that is mainly for domestic travel, but international travel, it is a little bit more complicated and it can be pricier, but you can also travel internationally for like $1,000. My favorite airline, and I'll make a whole other video on this, but if you want to go to Europe for cheap, Scandinavian Airlines is one of the best airlines for that. I traveled to Greece for, how much was it? I want to say $600. Six round trip, 6 to 7 maybe. I got my check bag. It was a really nice airline. It was a budget airline, but yeah, you can travel. And I think my friend, she is going to Paris and London for about $500 round trip. So you can still travel internationally on a budget. Hostels are an option. Once again, I think international travel is a whole other video because you also have to worry about like data, Wi-Fi, but it's the same thing applies. It's just you have to plan even more because it's a whole nother country, especially depending on your country. There's language barriers, there's transportations, it's a whole other beast. But traveling domestically, if you're in the United States, it's pretty easy, it's pretty simple. You can do it for a budget of $500 to $600, maybe less. It really depends on how many people you're traveling, when you're going. So be flexible and do your research, and you can definitely travel on a budget. The last thing I would say, if none of those things appeal to you or you're not a big planner, you just kind of you want to go on a trip, you want to relax and have everything just ready for you. You don't want to do all of the searching and price checking. I would 100% recommend going on a cruise. I love cruises. It is one of my favorite ways to travel. I have done a cruise a year for the past 3 years. You can find cruises for like $250, $300. Carnival is a good budget cruise line. I'll probably make another video on cruises because you have Carnival, you have Royal Caribbean, other cruises, but you can travel for cheap. You only have to worry about the flight to whatever the port is, unless if you live in Florida or California, you might not even have to worry about that. But yeah, all you have to worry about is the flight there, and you get on the cruise. There's food, there's entertainment. You'll stop in mostly, I think when I left from Miami, they had a lot of Caribbean places. They had the Bahamas. I've gone to Jamaica on a cruise, and that is honestly the best way to travel on a budget if you don't want to plan, because they will have activities planned for you. You don't have to worry about the food because there's food on the boat. You don't have to worry about anything. You can just enjoy your time, relax. They have clubs. Like I said, Carnival is really great if you want a good time. Royal Caribbean is great if you want to just relax. So I'll probably make something more in depth about that. But I believe that covers everything. If you have any tips or something that I missed, because I probably missed something, just add it on in the comments. Or if you have any questions, I can expand on things as well. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.